Hi guys, I'm Emma.
And I'm Jasmine,
and we're Too Much to Handle, a podcast where we talk about the highs and lows of high school. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy.
Good morning!
Well, good evening actually, because it is 7:30. We're recording
AM.
this. Oh, nope, 7:30 p.m.
It's past my bedtime.
PM. So, fair warning for this episode: we're very sleepy. We just got back from school and so we're a little sleepy, and we might not be the most energetic today, but we are here anyways. So, how are you doing today, Jasmine?
You know, it's been an okay day. Not the greatest, just because of drama, like class.
Yeah, drama class.
And I think I let it ruin my day, which was not wise of me, but that's
No.
okay. But how was your day?
My day was okay. Yep. School hasn't been too bad.
No.
Going to school hasn't been too bad, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Classes have been good.
Yeah, they have. So, last week we discussed setting goals. Okay? This week we will be discussing, please, athletics. That was a good
Dun,
try.
dun,
Dun, dun, dun, athletics.
Athletics.
In like sparkly pink letters at the bottom.
Athletics. Like aesthetics, but
Athletics. So, you might be wondering, you might be thinking in that silly little head of yours, Emma and Jasmine, what do you know about athletics? Well,
not much. JK.
We're cheerleaders. We obviously we don't know everything about every single athletic thing there is to ever exist, but we know the basic gist of things.
Yeah.
So I feel like this won't be too hard.
So a lot of athletes face like challenges, obviously, right? And one of the biggest ones is probably injuries. Not every athlete gets a serious injury, but you know, it's bound to happen at least once in your athletic career. And that can either be like super damaging for your like athletic career, or again, like I said, it kind of just be like a brush off the shoulder, like you miss one game kind of thing. But depending on how like connected's not the right word, but like I'm gonna use that word, like connected you are to your sport, like it can impact like if you get an injury, a serious injury can impact your life in a different way. Like it can take like a mental effect on you too.
Yeah.
Like a mental injury as well as it being a physical one.
Yeah. I feel like injuries can be a blessing hidden deep down in a curse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, injuries from sports are never a good thing.
Right.
But I feel like somewhere in that you can kind of... It makes you stronger in a way.
Yeah.
Not always.
I think too, like kind of picking off of that, like it being a blessing in a curse or whatever. Like maybe because when you're injured, you take a break from the sport usually. Normally, if you're not like not going to practice, you're normally like benched, right? You're not doing the sport. But that can be like a blessing in disguise in a way, because maybe you did need like a mental break from the sport, and maybe you needed like a physical break, then and it just obviously most of the time you don't want to take a break from the sport, but that's kind of like like God being like, here's where you need to stop. Not trying to say God wants us to get injured all the time, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. Injuries can be such a like discouraging thing, and it stinks so much because I mean they're so hard. It's so hard on students, especially at like high school level where they're really trying to build up their skills.
Yeah, especially if you want to go like college
if
for
you
your sport,
want to go collegiate with it.
Yeah.
If you want to go professional with it. having an injury in high school can be really soul crushing.
Mm-hmm.
So
It can be a really big setback.
it can be a really big setback.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's not much you can do about that. There's not much we can say about that.
Yeah.
You just, if you ever go through an injury in your sport, you have to always look at the bright side.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like that's easier said than done
Oh, yeah.
always, but
Always.
you can't let it fully discourage you.
Right. You can't let it take over.
There's a student at our school, a really great basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
And he suffered an injury last year.
Yeah.
And it was hard on him, but he bounced back.
Oh, yeah.
He's still a really great basketball player.
Yeah.
So you can't let it ruin your whole career in your sport.
I could have this wrong too, but like I think most of the time when you're injured, I think this happened for the person we're talking about, like it like motivated him to like get better. If that
Yeah.
like he was hurt and so he's like, I need to get better like physically and just like become like a better athlete in a way.
Mhm.
And like looking for something like that is always such a
Yeah.
good thing.
Mhm. So along with that physical injury,
Mm-hmm.
if we kind of set that to the side and look at a different route, another thing that can be really crushing for athletes is stress and the pressure to perform well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's the stress about balancing your schoolwork with your athletics, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
So we're not really going to touch on that.
Yeah.
But there's that stress, and then there's a whole nother level of stress when it comes to wanting to perform well.
Yeah.
The pressure to perform is something that people from all sports deal with.
Oh, yeah.
I know cheerleaders deal with it a lot. They're stunting, cheering, dancing. If that's not perfect, I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Basketball, football, soccer, golf, softball,
tennis,
baseball, tennis. We could go on. We can name every sport that is out there because they all come with this stress to perform well.
Yeah.
Perform, play. It's hard for so many people.
I think like too like there's the pressure to perform well for like you're putting that pressure on yourself. There's like you're representing your team as a whole, like in every sport, you're a team, right? You're representing your school, you're representing your family. So there's all these things that you're representing, and that just adds pressure to like perform and do it well, right? Because you're expecting yourself to do well. Your team is expecting you to do well. Your family's expecting you to do well. Your friend, like it's a big mental challenge. That's sometimes really hard to overcome. And we've touched base on like, mental health in like all of our episodes pretty much, but it's just such an important thing to try and not like, yes, you should want to do well. Like, don't hear me like saying don't do well, but don't let it get to the point where it's like overcome you, where that's all you focus on. You know what I mean?
So when it comes to injuries, like performance stress, all of that, student athletes' mental health becomes a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of athletes push their mental health aside because they're so focused on their sport and what they're doing in their sport. And it's not good. your mental health should always be one of your highest, not your
Yeah.
highest priority,
Right.
but it should always be up there. You should never kind of push it down to the bottom of your list, because that can lead to worse stress.
Right.
And I think, we all go through that.
Yeah. I think, like, every once in a while, just, again, like Emma said, don't make it your highest priority, because then that becomes a different story, a different problem. But, after, like, at the end of the week at your practices, kind of like reflect on your mental health and how am I doing? How did this week's practices affect me? Did I improve a lot? Like, kind of, and then sometimes realizing that, again, you're spending too much time focusing on your sport or whatever, and you need to, like, spend less time, like, not doing the sport, but, like, less time worrying so much about it, because, like, that truly can take an effect. And so if you're realizing that you're not putting your mental health first, or not, oh my goodness, if you're realizing you're not putting your mental health, like, up or making it somewhat of a priority, you should start doing it. It sounds so mean, but it's true.
It's true. It might sound a little mean, but it's true.
Kind of like we talked about before, like, pressure to, like, perform. And then, like I said, too, like, there's different pressure from different types of people. Like, looking into it more on, like, specifically, like, your family, like, I think some families, like, it went from grandpa played basketball to dad played basketball and uncle played basketball and older brother played basketball, so you have to play basketball, like, and then you play it, and then it's, not the expectation that they have. Do what you enjoy.
And if basketball is something that you enjoy, that's okay.
Yeah.
Play basketball, but don't feel compelled to be so, like, I know that you want to hold yourself at a higher standard. Like, you want to put that pressure on yourself because you have to follow in all your family's footsteps, but don't do that to yourself.
Mm-mm.
You can hold yourself at a high standard. You can hold yourself accountable to be a good player.
Yes.
But don't let that control everything.
Yeah. And, like, I think it's so easy to, like, if your parents are like, oh, you're doing great at this, but not at that, like, you need to work harder on that, and anything in life, parents are going to say that. And, like, obviously, like, take into account to what they say, because, I mean, it is, like, they love you and they have the best interest for you. Like, when you're playing your sport, like, they want to see you, again, do well. They want to see you perform well. But it's also, like, it's okay if you can't meet what their expectation of it is. Like, you know what I mean?
So we say, like, don't let, like, your family pressure you into, doing, like, making your sport, like, super, like, the top thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
But chances are your parent does just want the best for you.
Yeah.
And having their support is very, very important.
Yeah. I think, too, even if your parents didn't, like, let's say, play the sport you're playing, but they inspire you, like, to play that sport, or they inspire you to do well in that sport, like, I think it's good to, like, one, like, just tell them that, like, that they're an inspiration for you to do well or for you to play that sport. But then also, like, just like constantly tell them that you want them at your games, because they will be your number one supporters, like no matter what. No matter if you mess up, no matter if you fall and get hurt, no matter if you, like, they will always be your number one. And I think like telling them that you want them there just like brings so much joy to them. So, love your mommy and dad. Something else, like, I think that maybe holds people back from doing sports is like the financial side of it. And like obstacles with that, because doing sports does cost, like, for the gear and like uniforms, all of that stuff, all that jazz. It costs, unfortunately, the world we live in. And so it can be hard for people, like maybe they do want to participate in a sport. They're like, we just don't have the money to do that right now. My family was in that boat my like sophomore year, and like there's a potential of me not being able to do cheer, which I really enjoyed, and I really love cheer. And so it's kind of like, oh no, but there were so many people that stepped in and helped, like my coach and other like team members, like team like parents or whatever, like helped with so much. So like, again, going back to community is always an important thing. Like we talk about that all the time, because it is. Like being in a sport has a community, and that community can help take care of things. While it may not pay for everything, I think being able to see that there is another side to like overcoming that challenge of like not being able to play that. I don't really know. I don't know. That's just
That makes sense.
my opinion. And it is probably different for every sport, because I don't know what, or it might be different for different schools too, but there's possibilities of financial help when it comes to sports.
So, obviously, we've talked about the challenges that come with being an athlete, being an athletic, doing a sport. But from those challenges, athletics give you so much. They teach you so many important life lessons.
Yeah.
Like, leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even as a freshman, you can start to develop leadership skills.
Oh yeah.
Step up. Don't be afraid. I know it may seem scary, but you can, if you start early your freshman year, by the time you're a senior, you'll be a great leader.
Being an athlete, being on a team teaches you like respect.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You learn to respect your coaches, to respect your teammates.
We talked about respect today in our chapel.
We did. It was a really good chapel. But like, you're gonna need to be respectful to people your whole life. And so learning that on a team where everyone else is also learning it with you at different stages, but everyone else is still learning it with you, like, I think is like helpful in a way. Like, you're all being respectful to each other, to your coach, to, you also learn teamwork, how to work with a team when you're in a sport.
Yeah.
And that also is like a thing you're going to use most of your life. Whether it's like in the working field or just in a family. Like, when you start a family, it's a team that you have. And so, again, learning that now and like sticking with like what you've learned is going to be helpful in the long run.
And resilience. Athletics can teach you to have so much resilience. I remember when I first started cheer, every little thing that went wrong would upset me and discourage me.
Same.
And every little injury, or like not injury per se,
But like,
but every
ouch.
pain, every
Right.
ouch that happened would distract me. But as I continued on in cheer, I've realized that can't let things affect me. You've got to take it and you've got to move on. And I don't think I would have learned that if it hadn't been for athletics.
Yeah.
Little ouches don't bother me anymore. It's like, oop, that hurt. Let's get back up.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of mentioned this earlier, but your high school athletic career can help shape any future athletic career you might have or want to have, and any future, like a lot of stuff in the future, your future career, your future personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Athletics can really play a role in that. Not obviously, like, not a huge role. Like, to be like, if I'm not perfect in this ping pong game, I'm never gonna be a good CEO. Like,
Yeah. That's not gonna.
that's not how that works. But like leadership, resilience, all that,
Right. Yeah.
that you can learn from athletics, obviously help you in the future a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's so many Bible verses that apply to sports, athleticism, and yada yada yada. But the first one that popped in my brain was 1 Corinthians 16. It was just verse 14 that popped in my head, but I think 13 through 14 is good, which says, "Be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love." I think that is just overall a really good verse for athletics and sports and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh.
Do everything in love.
Because we love you.
You know what else we can do in love?
Not an outro.
We can have a lovely little outro.